Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to decode the science behind every single swing in tennis. And I mean really get into it. Forget just hitting your forehand over and over again. We're about to unlock the hidden code, the real science behind every shot on the court. And this is all coming straight from some fascinating research on biomechanics and gameplay.
So let's kick things off with a question that, well, it kind of challenges everything we think we know about tennis. What if the secret to being a great player isn't just about perfecting your swing? Having that beautiful textbook form? What if the real magic, the thing that separates the good from the great, is actually somewhere else entirely?
Well, the research we're digging into today suggests that real skill, true mastery, isn't about just one perfect movement you repeat over and over. It's actually about this dynamic relationship, this constant back and forth between you, your opponent, and the court itself. It's more like a fluid, adaptive dance than a rigid, pre-programmed routine.
Okay, to really get this, we have to split two ideas apart in our minds: biomechanics and technique. See, biomechanics, those are the universal laws of motion. They're the same for me, for you, for every pro out there. But technique, that's your personal style of putting those laws into action. And here's the perfect example, right? Just think about Roger Federer's forehand versus Rafael Nadal's. They look completely different, right? I mean, wildly different techniques. But they are both absolute masters at applying the exact same underlying biomechanical principles to get the job done. All right, so let's start building this from the ground up. We're going to start with what you could call the blueprint for any tennis stroke. It's a framework that breaks down every single shot into its most basic parts.
It doesn't matter if it's a huge, booming serve or the softest little drop shot. Every single shot you can think of can be broken down into these 5 fundamental phases. It's a cycle, right? You recover to get into position. You set up your body and racket. You find that perfect impact point. You swing through the hitting zone, and your grip is what gives you control through the whole thing. Then you do it all over again.
Okay, so we've got the blueprint. Now let's pop the hood and take a look at the engine. What actually powers these phases? Where does all that speed and control come from? Well, it all comes down to the science of how we generate force. And this power plant, it actually has a name, a really cool one. The research paper gives us this awesome mnemonic to help us remember the core principles of force, Biomechs. So let's break this down letter by letter. First up, B is for balance. And look, this is the absolute foundation of everything. It's your ability to control your center of mass, whether you're planted for a serve or desperately scrambling for a wide ball. If you don't have balance, honestly, nothing else matters. The whole shot just falls apart. Next up, I is for inertia. And this one's straight out of physics class, right? A body in motion tends to stay in motion. This is exactly why you see pros doing those little shuffle steps, that split step right before their opponent hits. See, a player who's already moving, even just a little, can react and explode to the ball way faster than someone who's standing flat-footed.
Then we've got O for opposite force, and this is so cool. It's basically how players turn the ground itself into a launch pad. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So when a player pushes down and back on the court to take off, the court pushes them up and forward with the exact same amount of force. That's where all that explosive movement comes from.
All of that pushing off the ground builds M for momentum. This is the real key. It's how you turn your body's movement into pure racket head speed. And it comes in 2 flavors: linear, which is like stepping into the ball, shifting your weight forward, and angular, which is that massive coiling rotation of your hips and shoulders that you see on pretty much every modern ground stroke. Okay, now for E, which is elastic energy. This might be my favorite one. Think of it as free energy. When you see a player take a big backswing, they're not just getting the racket back, they're stretching their muscles and tendons just like a rubber band. They're storing up all this potential energy, and then, snap, they release it all at once into the ball. Then there's C for the coordination chain. You might have heard this called the kinetic chain. The best way to picture it is like cracking a whip. The energy starts at the ground, flows up through the legs, into the hips, through the torso, down the arm, and finally, whack, it explodes out through the racket. Each link in the chain adds speed to the next. And finally, we have S for stability, because look, all that power we just talked about, it's completely useless if you can't control it. Stability is what allows a player to keep their body and, most importantly, their racket face steady and solid right at that critical moment of impact. It's the difference between a blistering winner and a ball that flies into the back fence.
Okay, so we've got the blueprint for the shot, and we've got the Biomechs engine that powers it. But how does a player actually use all this stuff in the middle of a point? Well, that's where the operating system comes in, what the research calls the 4R gameplay cycle.
And it all starts with read. This is happening before your opponent even makes contact with the ball. A great player is like a detective, constantly scanning for clues, how their opponent is setting up, where their racket is, their position on the court, all to anticipate what's about to happen.
So based on those clues you just read, you have to respond. This is the decision-making part. It's that split-second choice. Okay, I think it's coming to my backhand. Am I going cross-court or down the line? And at the same time, you're starting to move, you're getting your body into position.
Now, as the ball is actually coming towards you, you shift into the react phase. This isn't the big decision anymore. This is about all the little micro adjustments. Fine-tuning your footwork, adjusting your swing path. This is the actual execution of the shot, where you bring all those Biomechs principles to life.
And the second you hit the ball, you're not done. The job isn't finished. You immediately have to recover. This means getting back to a good central position, a home base, so you're ready to start that entire 4R cycle all over again. There's no time to admire your shot. You know, this quote really ties it all together. What we see in our environment determines what we do. This is the core idea of something called perception-action coupling. It just means that what you do on the court isn't some pre-rehearsed dance move. No, your actions are constantly, directly, and instantly shaped by what you see happening on the other side of the net.
All right, let's put all the pieces together now. We've got the blueprint, we've got the engine, and we've got the operating system. Let's see how these combine to give us a totally new way to look at the game.
And this is where it all clicks into place. Look at how each part of that 5-phase blueprint relies on the Biomechs engine. When you're in the setup phase, what are you doing? You're building that elastic energy and finding your balance. And then as you swing through the hitting zone, bam, you're unleashing all that momentum through the coordination chain. See? It's this beautiful marriage of structure and raw power.
So what does this all mean? It means the next time you watch a tennis match, you won't just see two people hitting a ball back and forth. You'll see something much deeper. You'll see a high-speed, dynamic conversation of forces. It's this constant cycle of reading, responding, reacting, and recovering, a dialogue of balance, momentum, and perception. So here's my question for you. The next time you watch a rally, will you just see two players hitting a ball, or will you see that conversation?